Hey guys, welcome back to another video. VSN has updated their F-104 Starfighter mod, and it is much better than it used to be. The big thing that you'll notice right off is the cockpit. This thing is now on the level of a full fidelity module. I mean, look at that cockpit detail. That is amazing. The next thing you'll probably notice is that we don't have a heads-up display anymore. We have the actual F-104 gun sight. So the way that works is you only actually have the bore sight mode for the radar, and then of course beyond visual range mode if you're in the F-104S with the AIM-7 Sparrows. And you just press 4 for the bore sight mode, that turns on the sidewinders, and then you just get a lock and fire your sidewinder. The gun does have some sort of computing gun sight, but on these older aircraft I prefer to just use a fixed sight, because at the end of the day the older style gun sights are more difficult to understand, at least in my opinion, and they're kind of clunky to use sometimes too, so I just prefer to use a fixed World War II style sight if I don't have something that does it all for me, like the F-14 or F-15's computing gun sight that is linked to the radar, of course. And speaking of radar, you can see that the radar scope looks different, and that's because in the next update this mod is going standalone, so it will have its own radar, just like the F4 mod that VSN released recently. So that's another very good thing. I'll go ahead and get rid of that sidewinder tone. So the biggest thing by far though for me is going to be the flight model. The flight model is much better. No longer do you have the depart into an uncontrollable spin that you can't get out of anymore. I mean, look at this turn. And I just did depart, but the F-104 recovered because I centered the stick. And that's all you have to do. You just have to remember that you can never pull more than about halfway back on the stick or exceed, I believe it's 15 degrees of AOA, 15 degrees angle of attack, and you should be fine. So that is a huge plus, because that means that this thing is no longer nearly as difficult to fly as it used to be. Now, with that being said, the flight model may be more accurate, but that doesn't mean that you can get complacent with the F-104, because, well, let's just say the Germans didn't name it Widowmaker for nothing. This thing is difficult to handle at low speeds especially, so realistically you don't want to be flying at slow speeds for any longer than you have to, and if you can avoid it at all, by all means do so. Now, that presents an interesting problem when you're landing, and you absolutely have to drop your flaps in the F-104 if you're going to land, which we're about to try to do here at Antonio 1 Pat Airport. I almost said Air Force Base. Anyway, I'll go ahead and bring us into that turn to get us hopefully lined up for the runway. Whoa, we just departed. I'm gonna have to bring this back around. There's no way that I can make that. Landing the F-104 is still tricky, as you can see. Taking off isn't quite as bad, but landing, oof. And it's all because of those tiny wings. They didn't call this the missile with a man in it for nothing, because it's really intended to go fast. It's not intended to fly slow, which for an aircraft that has to land is a problem, unlike for a missile that doesn't have to land. Alright, flaps, gear, and air brakes should all be out. Okay, so the gear seems to have stuck, which is another issue. The gear will not deploy if you fly too fast. So I'm going to have to belly land this thing, I'm afraid, which is not going to be any fun at all, because the F-104 has a nasty tendency to come apart on you. if you try to belly land it. Actually, you know what? We're going swimming. There we go. Feet wet. And we're out. Oh well. But I hope you've enjoyed that, because that's going to be it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.